Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So as you can see, today I'm going to do a MegaColony deck profile. So it will be a deck involving proxy cards because I'm running the new cards from clan selection, which we are going to get in about 3 weeks time. So um, just do note that I do use proxy in this video. So I will try to also put a image right there so you can see it. If you can't see what I'm actually using clearly, hopefully it does. So at least you can still find out what card that is. And for proxy, I'm only proxying the new clan selection cards, which will be the free cards. So yeah, so this deck is actually quite fun. I've been playtesting it for around 2 weeks. So I did play different matchups, although they aren't exactly that matter, but like not like lure, not like gravel, not like the Girkwood, these kind of things. But I still find this deck very fun. So which I think is good enough to show you guys how I built, because I'm quite confident with this build and I enjoy it. So yeah, that's all I'm sharing. Yeah, so just quickly going to the deck contents. First, of course, we are running 4 of the Venom Stinger. New card, something worth to try. So I'm running 4 off, trying to put him as a main, but I also noticed that I actually use him as a second ride, not the first ride, because his second skill with stealing triggers is nice, but it costs you a counterblast in any regard, so you won't simply use that a lot because you do need to somehow keep your board full so you can keep attacking with some good numbers. But his first skill to simply gain 10k as long as your opponents get new damage on the damage zone during a turn is big enough. So something that you do need to play it very carefully. And with the second skill, even if you soul blast a grade 3, you can somehow give them an extra damage or 2 and try to steal the triggers there. But if they don't get a trigger, you don't get extra stuff, only the 10k per damage. And in a way, you're having them to counter charge, because if they are on low damage and they just use a counter blast or maybe 2, then you just simply give them more counter blast to use. And with some decks, if you give them too many counter blasts, that will hurt you a lot. So that's something that you need to be very careful when using Venom Stinger, and that's why I'm using him usually as a second ride, which on the first ride I use other grade 3s to push my opponents as much as I can, or at least drop their hands as much as I can. Then after that, I ride into Venom Stinger. Then I start pushing even harder. And since they are losing some hands already, they can't fully block all the attacks, so will make his second skill a lot meaningful. And also do note that his second skill only going to steal triggers during his battle as a Vanguard. So even if it counts the damage that he is going to give to your opponent's Vanguard after his attack hits, which means it's kind of like a 6 damage heal sealed if you attack with him hits and your opponent is on 5th damage and they open a heal, you still win the game because you just steal the heal triggers effects. But you need to be very careful that your early attacks will still triggers the trigger effects for their own. So yeah, need to be very careful when playing this card. And then I'm running for the Intrude Scissors. So this is an amazing card, which I think I'm happy to run 4 of, but I can cut him to 3 if I want to. Doesn't matter too much, because he is quite cost heavy in order to do every single thing. In order to call him, you need to counterblast 1 each per card. And if you want to stand some stuff and give him extra power, you need to Soul Blast. And Soul Blast is quite heavy in this build, so don't just simply no brain spam all your souls. take care of what you can use. And even if you have 2 in drop, you don't have to call both. You can choose to basically call one out, just use one soul to stand and other regard on the other side, and use those to attack. That's still fine. But if you want to stand your back row, then of course you need to like counterblast 1 each, call 2, and then restand 2. But you have options, so don't just simply use up all your resources. Then that just make you a lot more painful later game, and you don't want that. Also, he's a very good target for Venom Stinger to use. So you basically just call one out randomly. If you want to pump him 10k, you can Soul Blast 1. If you do have the resources, swing with him, and then use your Venom Stinger, put your scissors to your soul, and then Soul Blast it to fully use his effect. And since you deal 2 damage, then your scissors can basically just counterblast 1 and come back. So just some little attack, easy stuff that you can use, and which is why I find him very, very useful here. And since he comes from damage and you don't need to care about your deck that much, but if you do have them in drop, just probably keep them in drop. Unless you really need that counter charge, then you can use it, but normally I prefer not to. And then 3 of the Gunning Colio, which I am happy with this ratio, but if you do want to switch, you can basically turn one of the scissors to Gunning Colio, and he is my first ride. As long as I have him in hand, I will definitely ride him first, because he can basically give me 3 to 4 drives, and it's quite easy to do his guard restrictions. For early game, since you your aim is trying to push damage, then you rather have more drive checks, getting probably more triggers and more cards in hand, so you can survive for another turn. And even if your opponent's block his attack, he's meaningful. But with Venom Stinger, if you ride him first and none of your attack hits, he's just a 12k and waiting 8 damage in order to become a 22k. But if his attack is putting him to a 22k, that's still kind of meaningless to you because you won't withstand your Vanguard. So that's why I still think Gunning Colio is great, and some little sudden strike on guard restrictions can be painful. Like if you suddenly drop the grade 0 and they can't guard grade 0 from hand, then you can just go all out and try to finish them off there. If it's just like a grade 1, then maybe you can stop Bermuda using their Ellie, I think. That if they guard with Ellie, they can just put another Ellie back to your decks and increase their shield value. So now there's a lot more things that you can actually limit with Gunning Colio, and I think it's great. And even though if you don't find him any users, just put him out as a rearguard and just absorb by Venom Stinger and just Soul Blast out. Easy, won't hurt you anything, and then you can just recycle it back to your deck until you meet him again, ride him, try to gain more drives, try to do some guard restrictions again, then you probably can easily win your games. So yeah. So that's my grade 3 lineups, and actually we are only running 11 grade 3s, so it's not like extremely heavy to 14 or 15 grade 3s that I do with Ghidorah, because I don't need to call grade 3s out from the deck, but you do need this amount so that you have enough resources to use. And Soul Blasting grade 3s is quite important in this deck. You have your Venom Stinger, you have your Gunning Colio, so you do need that much grade 3s in order to have enough to Soul Blast. And of course, we are running 4 Mantis to search our grade 3s. Since we are not running any Dark Face, so we won't be able to use Sticky Bolas. And Mantis is still very stable. 15k attacker on the turn. You use the skill when it appears, able to try to search yourself a gynecolio or a Venom Stinger, and also him, and also the Great One. Very nice. Nothing much that you need to consider not putting. And I think he also get reprinted in the clan selection anyway, so it's not that hard to find. So yeah. And then, as I said before, our soul is quite packed, quite tight. So I'm running 3 of the Mega Leather Lancer so that you can try to do some soul charge, try to do some blocking intercept, and he can usually gain 2k to 4k, so helping you to adjust your numbers. But for my games, sadly, I usually don't have a chance to actually soul in any cards, but uses power gain skill more, but you will sometimes find him handy with the intercept blocking. So yeah, I still have no intention to take him out right now. And then 3 of the Killer Leaf, try to get yourself some draw. Again, he's using souls, so yeah, do be careful. And from here you can see I have this, I have this, I have this to try to mill my opponents. Not too much, but this kind of little milling sometimes works. And if your opponent is like very good at drawing the cards, very good at gaining drive, very good at calling stuff from deck, get pieces from deck, then this decking out trio will help you out to speed up your opponent's deck out sequence. Like in the match that I play against a mirror build, because they keep healing, they do have a little bit of like putting cards back to deck with Ellie, and also they also good at getting units to their hand from deck. So this really actually helps and make them hurt, because you can't find a way to simply push them through, because they do have a big hand, they do have a lot of PGs, they are force clans, so their defense is a little bit higher. Then when you're in stalemate, what you can do, deck them out. So this deck can actually do offensive and at the same time do a slower play, slowly decking them out, which I think is another key part that you need to work out with this deck. But again, you need to play very carefully, because once you get into the long game, sudden accident can happen, so do be careful. Next, 4 of the high class morph, another new card from the set. So I'm actually running a full play set of the new cards, because they are actually just that useful. And with him, with this little morph, you are increasing your grave freeze. So since he is also counting himself as a grave free from deck or soul, means you can just simply use your gynecolio skill to soul blast and do guard restrictions. You can use your Venom Stinger skill first, put him into the soul, and once you get into the soul, he's a grave free anyway, then you can soul blast him out, because you will rest him to return a unit counter charge and blocking one of your opponent's units that cannot intercept. So yeah, just this card can simply do so much jobs, and I do think you should actually put this card in most of your MegaColony deck, as long as you use Counter Blast. Yeah, just that simple. As long as you use Counter Blast, put him in. But for machining, maybe you don't have the space for it, because he's not a machining. So yeah, that's probably only deck that I don't think you need him. But for the other builds, I think he is just amazing. He's just amazing. After playing for so long, High Class Morph is a lot more amazing than I thought compared to Venom Stinger. Venom Stinger, of course, is a good card, but where you can play him is a little bit limited. But High Class Morph, you can basically chuck in any single MegaColony build, and he himself will just simply do a lot of things. Also, I think someone asked me on YouTube as a comment before, if you reveal a High Class Morph with your Mantis, can you pick it up? My answer is yes, because for like skills like Mantis is asking you to look at the top 6 cards of your deck. So when you're looking, they are still considered in your deck. They are not going to trigger zone, they are not in your hand, they are still in the deck, so you can still pick them up. So yeah, even if you're like full of Graveries in hand, when you use Mantis, you can at least still have a target to pick up. So really helps the deck a lot. And then I'm running for the Hornet. At first I'm thinking about I think it's the Little Doggers, the Greyfish Searcher from the set with Gradora, but after that I think a bit, and I really don't want to discard a card when I get a Greyfree. And as I said before, Soul is really a big problem in this deck, even though through how I play the deck, I never running out of Soul. So yeah, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen. So I'm using Hornet instead. If I can't search anything, he will stay here. If I find something, I gain a Greyfree, I can get a extra card in Soul. So for my Killer Leaf, which is good enough. And then 2 other Venom Black, because we are running Garnicolio. With Venom Black, you basically just blocks your opponents to guard for most of the options. So I still think Venom Black is good to be here. And if you are going for like a all-out turn, you can still stand them with your scissors. And if you are willing to like draw 4 hands and just keep pumping the power, keep restricting cannot call normal units, maybe you can win the game there already. So yeah, 2 is good enough. And again, as long as you run Garnicolio, you should at least have some Venom Blacks. And then for Counter Charge and Soul Charge, of course, we do have a Butterfly Officer, but I don't find him that I need to put that much compared to Gradora, that I actually need to put like 4, because with him, I basically have a lot of soul charging options. And High Class Morph is also helping me to do the counter charge already. So he is here in case I really need that 10k buff, and like when I don't have any soul to use already, then I can simply just put something in and wait for next turn. Yeah, so you still need Butterfly Officer, but the demand is a little bit lower in this build since I have a lot of other options. And then quickly entering triggers. I'm running 7 crits, 4 draw PGs, 1 normal draw, and 4 heals. So you can try to have 6 draws if you want, but I don't think I need 8 crits, because Venom Stinger is having a chance to steal triggers from my opponent, and most of them are using crits. Unless you are facing like Novas and maybe like Palmon, that they might use front triggers, but even front triggers is going to help you a lot as well. So you don't need that much critical triggers for yourself to push overs. You can have a little bit more drawing power, because like Content Cardio is also kind of having you to have more draw power, but in a way as a drive check. So yeah, more hands, you can survive longer. And since we are running quite a lot of 11 grade trees, we do want to have more hand size. So at least your opponents see you have a big hand size, they might not know you're full of grade threes. So yeah, of course, when they're facing MegaColony, they do think that you do run a lot of grade threes. But whenever they see a big hand size, they don't usually think that your hand is full of grade threes. They just will think how I'm going to use up all the hands in order to hit them. So that's is already something that can help you to do a little bit cover. So if you do want to run 6 draws, feel free to. But to me, I think 5 draws for now is a good balance, since I do have some better shield value, and you can't actually return them with high class moth because high class moth can only return normal units. So that's something that you also need to know for. But overall, this deck is quite fun, and sometimes I just basically steal the crits, and sometimes like even double crits, and sometimes I steal heal triggers and I suddenly heal a damage, which means I can have more rooms to take more damage in order to use more counter blast. That's so fun to play with this deck. So you never know what triggers you're going to meet, or there are times like other matches that I actually play with Venom Stinger, I never steal a trigger because whenever my opponents take those 2 damage, they are normal units. So that happens, and of course, still fun because you do have a way to actually deck them out. So yeah, do try it out and see if you enjoy it. But of course, if you want to speed up your deck out strategy, you can definitely use the Nova Speeds. But for me, I prefer not to in this build because the Grade 3 line I'm having is quite stable. I don't want to run extra Grade 3, so that will kind of ruin my shield value balance. Yeah, so of course, you can make your own build and you can try out mine and see how you go with it. Yeah, so that's basically the deck profile, and there isn't much that I can tell about like right sequence because it's quite straightforward. And what you need to try to do is to look for the timing to use your seizures to withstand units. Then I think you should be fine with the deck. Yeah, but if you do have any questions, note them down in the comments below. If I see them, I will respond as I can, or at least I can try to find you some answers. Yeah. So let's looking forward to clan selection. It's coming out in 3 weeks. I do have other proxy deck profiles that will come up later, which will be Spectral Duke, and of course our wonderful CBD that I'm going to build a deck and try it out, and we'll see how we go from there. But overall, with Spectral Duke and this, actually having a lot more fun with this deck. So yeah, do try it out again and let me know if you have any questions. So thanks for watching guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.